Get.
There's a lot to get. Back again. And we got to get you out of here so you can get to a play.
That's right. Tonight's the night.
And get you to a play, and that'll be all good. Cool. All right. What's up, everybody? Corey Singletary here with the Citizens Utility Board with another episode of CUB Tracks. And alongside me, as usual.
Hey, Tom Content, Executive Director, Citizens Utility Board. Welcome back.
How are you doing?
I'm exhausted today. I don't know why. Too many meetings for one day.
We have had quite a few. You have had quite a few. But I think today is going to be, I think, first episode talking about rate cases for the 2023 calendar year. Does that feel about right?
Yeah, we recapped 2022 cases earlier in the year, and now we're looking ahead to the cases that we're going to be working on for the guts of this year, right?
Yeah, the brand new season.
So it's the hold on to your wallets episode.
It's the gird your loins sort of episode. So if you are an MG&E customer, if you are an Xcel customer in Wisconsin, and if you are an Alliant Energy customer in Wisconsin, we have some information that you may find interesting. So yeah, that's what we'll be running down. So I guess maybe backing up, April 28th, all three of those utilities dropped their rate case application filings to adjust their rates for 24 and in some cases for 2024 and in some cases also for 2025 for both electric and natural gas. This is what we usually call in our office in the regulatory area in Wisconsin, we call it a full rate case. It's where we kind of take a look at everything and sort of reset all the rates or adjust all the rates and look at other things too, some policy issues. Which we'll probably get into as we get through the summer. There's going to be a lot of stuff to unpack. So this is, for folks who are listening, this is just going to be, we're going to give a high-level overview of sort of the top-level numbers, what we're seeing right now. And I think as we go through the summer, we'll probably devote more time to each one of these utilities to kind of walk through what the utility's asking for and what we're kind of seeing looking through that. So MG&E, Xcel, Alliant, who do you want to go with first?
Flip a coin.
Let's just go.
Do you have a three-sided coin?
I do not have a three-sided.
All right, let's just go with MG&E.
All right, we'll go with MG&E. So MG&E, through an MG&E customer, the utility has come in and asked for an adjustment for electric and natural gas rates. So they're asking for an increase in electric rates for 2024 of 3.75%, and then an increase in 2025 of 3.41% on top of the 3.75%. So cumulative, we're looking at about a 7%. We'll call it a little more than 7% overall over the course of the 2 years. And then for natural gas, similarly, they're asking for the commission to set rates for 2 years. They want to raise natural gas rates by 2.56% on average for the whole. This is for the whole utility, so that's a reminder. This is for the whole utility, and we'll get into some of those nuances in a little bit. But 2.56% on average for MG&E for electric, and for 2024 and for 2025, and another 1.66% on top of that. So
right. So yeah, so above today's rates, we'd be at 7.25 basically, and 4 on electric, an increase over where things are today, and then about a 4.25 increase percentage wise on the natural gas, the local natural gas charges. So
yeah, and so the one of the things that we're still dealing with is Tom and I have been looking at the fuel reconciliation cases that we had last year. And one of the things we're also dealing with with these utilities is, if they didn't recover their fuel cost for generate electricity, they get an opportunity to recover that delta, that difference.
Right. There could be a surcharge on top of that.
Correct.
Related to fuel.
And for one of the utilities in particular, which we will get to, that surcharge is not insignificant. But what's looking at MG&E, and we've kind of got this slate of 3 right here. So what jumps out to you about, this MG&E increase?
I mean, it's less than, I guess, at 7% increase over 2 years. It's less than people saw on their bills this year. MG&E customers saw about a 7% for residential in the bills that the cases that were decided last year. We 7% increase for residential and about an 8% increase for small business. So it's less than that, but it's still a lot of things aren't going down.
It's less than last year, which we felt was pretty bad. So I mean, I guess if you're one of those glass half full, glass half empty kind of people, this is
it's about half full.
You could look at it that way, and that it's not that bad. It's stepped out over the course of a couple of years, but it is a fairly significant increase. And one of the significant themes, which we'll continue to talk about, is the drivers for these rate increases really are additions to utility capital, new investments by the utility that they are now bringing into rates. Things like, in particular, things like new investments in solar, and as well as other
energy storage.
Yep, energy storage, as well as other grid investments the utilities are making. And so that's where we're at right now. And like I said, there's an extra layer here, which we don't have visibility into to MG&E yet, which is these are the overall increases. This is what we're looking at for the whole utility.
Right.
And as we learned last year, particularly for the customers we represent, how that check is split, how the pie is cut in terms of taking that overall increase and spreading it out over the different customer groups really matters, doesn't it?
It does, and so we don't have visibility on that yet. But I know that we had experience with that last fall in the We Energies and WPS cases, and where how can we split this in a way that's fair to residential customers, and we hope for good outcomes this year on that front.
Yeah, well, so we'll wait to see what the utilities file, and to be clear, as we sit here today, as of the recording of this, we don't know what it is. I have been getting some emails from our utility counterparts that I believe, I'm going to cross my fingers, that they may be filing that rate information today, but I haven't seen it yet. So we'll see.
It's coming very soon if it isn't out there.
Yeah. So maybe by the time you're listening to this, that information will already be out. But about a 7.25 and about, what were you saying, about a 4.25 for gas, and then we'll see also where that goes. But yeah, really looking at the initial application, and CapEx is a really big thing. So I guess moving along, in the spirit of, I don't know, I guess increasing awfulness, we'll characterize it that way. So Xcel Energy, Xcel Energy, northwest part of Wisconsin. They have requested for their customers an electric rate increase of 4.8% for 2024. I suppose this isn't increasing. So in this case, it would be a 1 year. They're not asking for an increase and then an increase on top of that.
Would be 4.8. Yeah, just for 1 year, and then keep things level for 2025, subject to any changes in fuel costs.
Yeah. So 4.8% for electric, and then 5.3% for natural gas. And then an extra wrinkle, which gets a little wonky, because we can't see the rate side of this. What I'm not 100% clear on is whether or not these gas increases are overall, like the total kind of bill increase that customers would see, or if this is just an increase on like a slice of the bill, which means that the ultimate increase to customers might be a little bit lower because a lot of the natural gas bill is actually the purchase of the gas itself.
Good point there. Yep. More to come there.
Yeah, but we're still seeing over 4%, almost 5% on electric, and a similarly large increase for natural gas.
Yep. And Xcel customers, this in 2023 saw a 10% increase, nearly 10%, a little bit less than that for residential. It was 7.5% this year. So this would be a little lighter than what just hit bills.
Yeah. So we had talked about capital investment, capital expansion, CapEx, like we talk about, and that is also an issue here. In addition to just like physical steel in the ground, they also have proposals related to updating their metering and metering infrastructure to allow them to better do things like time of use rates and advance rates, but just also just kind of updating their metering system, which comes at a non-trivial cost. But an interesting one, and I'm kind of curious what you think about this, is the utility also as part of their increase is requesting an increase asking the commission to up their authorized return on equity, what people would often refer to as their profit margin, but their return on equity by 0.25%, 25 basis points, to go from 10% to 10.25. And I'm warned, this isn't a litigation position, but I'm wondering what your reaction to that off the cuff is.
I think I heard somebody say, didn't they get the memo? Because, we saw what the commission did last year on the WEC Energy Group cases, which was they were at a starting point of 10 and went down to 9.8, and it was the final decision of the commission. And to ask to go up from this point is something that we'll have to dig into, because that just seems a little rich.
It's certainly a bold
request. Or should I say
request.
A lot rich.
It is a lot rich, but I will certainly say it is a bold request given the commission's recent action.
Exactly.
Asking to go up more than the commission, knocked the other utilities down is kind of quite a bit. And again, Xcel is another one where we are waiting, and it should be maybe even by the time folks are listening to this, there might be more information out, but we're waiting on the final sort of rate design to see again how the pie is cut and what the ultimate impacts to residential and small business customers might be.
I mean, it's not a game because this is real money, but maybe that was an opening bid or something.
That's sometimes that's the strategy, right? It's like when you're a kid and you ask for a pony and you're not going to get a pony, and then maybe you get an Xbox instead, right?
Yeah, getting something much smaller, like a puppy.
That might be reasonable. So there's a lot of capital expansion, and so I guess maybe let's get through Alliant and we can talk a little bit more about that issue specifically. So this is sort of the big daddy of this year, right? Last year, really, we just had the We Energies and Wisconsin Public Service utilities in, and there were some big increases for those utilities. But this one, I know, particularly when I started to dig down to what it would mean for residential customers, it's kind of eye-watering here.
It's not for the faint of heart.
No, it is not.
Residential customers for Alliant, let's just set the context because we did that for the others. For 2023, the bills, it went up about 5% for residential. So
that's where we're starting. So
seems tame compared with what you're looking at on that page.
Oh, God, yeah. So Alliant is, like MG&E, is sort of asking for a two-step rate increase. They would like their rates to go up in 2024 and then go up by more in 2025. And so on the electric side. And what we're looking at is an 8.4% increase in electric rates overall for the whole utility for 2024, and another 5.1% for 2025, which just those numbers on their face are kind of high.
Yes. Yeah. So that's like well over 14% from base, from where we are at this moment.
Mm-hmm. Now the horror story that I've been kind of staring at and trying to get comfortable with. I don't know if that's the right word. So the Alliant has, and I do applaud them for this, and I thank them for getting all their work in all together instead of spreading out sort of the what we call the revenue requirement, the total pot, the total ask for money, and then instead of trickling in the rate design stuff, which is really ultimately the thing that's the most important to customers.
Right.
Instead of trickling that out 2 to 4 weeks later, they filed everything up front. So thank you, Alliant. But what the utility has proposed is that with those rate increases, it would translate if the utility got what they asked for or they're asking for with the commission, is it would translate into about a 14. I'm going to really call it a 14.5% because this is for most customers. Yep. About a 14.5% increase for residential customers in 2024, and then another incremental about 5% increase in 2025. So all told, we're looking at about a 19.7% increase. We'll just call it 20.
That sounds like 20 to me.
About a 20% increase over present revenues over the course of 2 years. The story's a little better for our small business customers. It would only be about, what is this, like a 3%? Yeah, about like 2.6, call it 2.5, 3% in 2024. And then cumulative, it does go up to about 8, 9%, depending on who you are for small business. So that's still nothing to sneeze at. But a 20% increase, man, that's a lot.
That's a lot. That's a lot to hit in one case.
Yeah. And
I mean, they've been building a lot of stuff, but that's a lot.
That is. And so I think now might be a good time to talk about the building of a lot of stuff.
Exactly.
Right. And so a lot of, really the big driver for Alliant Energy in this case is all of the stuff that they've been building, particularly, something like 1,100 megawatts of solar generation, as well as other investments they've been making in their system. And all of that's rolling in now. And I am reminded of testimony I put in on the very first batch of those Alliant solar cases, where I made certain the commission understood that when the utility said that building the solar is less expensive, it doesn't mean less expensive compared to now. It just means less expensive compared to the alternative, which was the status quo, just keep business as usual, that it was less expensive compared to that. And so that didn't mean that rates weren't going to go up, and here we see that the rates are going up.
Right, and this is where the phrase we keep hearing is steel for fuel, right? Mm-hmm. We're going to put in steel, which is the solar. The solar is the steel, so we're going to pay for that up front, and we're going to see savings and then customers should see savings on the fuel side, and so but what we're seeing here is the impact of the steel, and then I think the fuel savings. We're hoping that comes through too. I'm looking at the NYMEX and hoping that fuel savings can start hitting right away in 2024.
Yeah, and one of the challenges there is because of, I don't want to get too far down into like a graduate level paper on rate making, but the cost,
that'll be next week's episode.
Yeah, sure. But the way that the utilities recover the cost is essentially the cost of investments, of physical investments, are most expensive in the early years, and the amount that's in rates gets less and less over time as it gets depreciated. So those solar investments are the most expensive right now, right with the first time they hit rates. And then in theory, to your point, over the long term, right, we hope that it will result in lower costs overall when you count in fuel. But man, 20%. But then on top of that, like we had mentioned, there's a fuel reconciliation proceeding going on right now. So that true up for fuel. Yes. And Alliant is looking, I think it's somewhere, depending on where the commission lands on that, it's like 4.75% increase in rates just from the fuel true up. So that would pancake on top of this.
4% on top of what we were just talking about. So 20% becomes 24.
24, 25, something like that. I like 25. It's a nice round number.
I like 2.5.
Can we get them down to 2.5? So in addition to the capex, the new investments that are coming in, primarily new solar, which again, let's be clear, this is not a dig on solar. It's just the magnitude of the new investments in terms of dollars. It could have been investment in something else.
Right.
It's a lot of money coming in. But the other thing, they're also asking for something else, again, related to finance and utility earnings. And this is a little wonky, but they're asking the commission to increase the amount of equity they have in their capital structure. And that's basically kind of we call it a sneaky back end way of putting building more earnings into the revenue requirement. But again, you talked about reading the room. How do you feel about that ask?
Again, it's more dollars flowing through the through that 10% or through that profit rate, through the ROE. It's more dollars flowing that way, and this is again another bold ask because the commission was moving in a direction of trying to at least bringing down that side of the equation, at least on the ROE side with the wet case, and we're hopeful that can carry over.
Yeah, that one piece for folks that are really interested in like utility profits, it's kind of actually all over the board with these cases. You have MG&E that's seemingly kind of keeping their heads down. They're saying we have the lowest authorized earnings right now, and we're just going to live with the capital structure we got. So let's not pay too much attention to that.
Yeah, it's the nothing to see here strategy.
It's nothing, yeah. And then you have both Xcel and Alliant asking to essentially pull one of the levers that would allow for more earnings for shareholders.
Right.
So
in the balance between customers and shareholders, when you're asking for, what did we say, 20, 25? Well, 20% plus the fuel surcharge. So that's why it feels really bold.
Yeah.
Because the shareholders should be just fine with even without that.
Yes, we have a highly regarded finance experts that can happily explain how the utilities will be just fine if their allowed returns were lower than what they're asking for. Is there anything else that jumped out? Oh, I guess it's worth mentioning. It hasn't been filed yet, but we've been teasing it all year long, and now is the time. When Xcel does file their rates, that will include their proposal for EV charging. My understanding is it will have some tweaks from what they previewed last fall, but they are still planning on bringing forward a proposal for electric vehicle charging. And for folks that are interested, and we'll get into it, we'll definitely talk about this more as we go through the summer. But for folks who are interested in customer-owned generation, both Alliant Energy and Madison Gas and Electric are proposing what a lot of people would consider a fairly significant change to the way that small generators are compensated for electricity they deliver to the grid. They would be changes to what most people would know as net metering. I would say between the two proposals, there's one I definitely like better than the other, but we've also been talking with some of the other stakeholders, and it's not going to be a rousing chorus of hail to the chief or kumbaya when we're talking about that issue.
No, it's a real tough issue, and it just seems like it wasn't enough to have big numbers. Let's have big policy debates too.
Well, that's what the commissioners get paid the big bucks for, right?
That's exactly right.
So again, let's try to bottom line it up front for folks. Madison Gas and Electric customers, your utility has asked for a 3.7% increase in electric rates for 2024 and a 3.41% increase in electric rates for 2025. And about a 2.56% increase in natural gas rates. I think that's on margin, so it might be your bill might go up less than that. For Xcel Energy, you're looking at your utility. If you are an Xcel Energy customer, your utility has asked for an electric rate increase of 4.8% in 2024. Just a single step, so I guess you win in that respect. So 4.8% for electric and then 5.3% for gas. Again, that might just be on the distribution rate. So we're hoping that the final bill increase will be a little bit less than that. And then the blue ribbon winners in the SAB trombone contest are Alliant Energy customers. So if you're an Alliant Energy customer, Alliant has asked for an 8.4% overall increase for electric in 2024 and a 5.1% increase in 2025. And then the big headline for residential customers is you're looking at about a cumulative 19.5 to 20 percent increase in electric rates, plus potentially a 4.5 to 4.75% increase on top of that to cover fuel from 2022. And then I didn't even mention natural gas because I just forgot, or I just remembered that it's not rosy on the natural gas side either. The utility is requesting an increase in natural gas, and the number I have right in front of me is for residential. And that's who we represent. And what those folks are looking at for Alliant for natural gas is about a 7.5% increase in bills. It's a 16.4% increase on margin rates. So,
yeah, that was an overall increase of 6.3 is what I had in my notes. So,
yeah,
6.3%.
It's
but then a little more for residential.
Yeah. So the hits keep coming, but stay tuned. Make certain to subscribe, make certain to follow along. We will be doing deeper dives on all these rate increases. But if you are an Alliant Energy customer, Madison Gas and Electric customer, or an Xcel Energy customers, rate increases are probably coming in your direction, and I would encourage you to follow along. And when the opportunity arises, to make certain that you file comments with the commission and make certain the commission is able to hear your voice directly. We will do our part, but we always encourage folks to make their voice heard as well.
Public comment period isn't open yet for those, but once it's out there, we'll be letting you know that it's available. And just a quick add is that we just got through the We Energies and WPS cases last fall. And so there's nothing at this moment for those customers who are listening, but stay tuned because those utilities are coming in for an increase. They didn't have to do it by May 1st. So we're not exactly sure when that'll be filed. I'm expecting it might be, around the Memorial Day barbecue time, but we'll see. There will be increases coming there too, but we just don't have details on that yet.
All right. Cool. So I feel like I need a drink. I don't know about you.
Well, yeah, maybe we should put this out on a Monday instead of a Tuesday. Right? Because it feels like a Monday kind of topic.
It does feel like a Monday kind of topic. But happy
no
Tuesday.
No offense, but there you go. Happy Tuesday, everybody.
All right. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Like Tom mentioned, make certain to subscribe, share. Definitely share this rate case information. And then it also helps us get the word out and expand our viewership and the folks that are listening. But until then, we will catch you all in the next one.
Thanks, everybody.